In this video, we're going to look at a custom report that was written that dealt with budget. We'll run this report. You can see what the output actually is. Having a little issue with my screen layout. So this is purely a budget report or a cost estimate done in P6, where each of our activities, we're looking at the actual resources assigned. We have some expense items here. This is to gather the information needed to arrive at this total. It's budgeted cost. This is to procure or purchase a pickup and a sewer pump trailer. It does include shipping. We have an inspection trip estimate to inspect a trailer, the sewer pump trailer, at the manufacturer prior to ship it. So we're going to take this report and modify it. I'm going to right-click the report, copy it. You can actually do whatever, pick a different one that you would like. It doesn't matter where you do this, and we're going to paste. We get a second duplicate report with the very same name. You'll notice over here there was no run date. That's how we can identify it. First thing you want to do is name it. Give it a different name, something to identify it. So Nelson Lagoon, budgeted resource and expense detail. Let's go budgeted and to date actual. All right. Every time you see a left click, it'll have that red ring around it. If you see a blue click, that is a right click. So we're going to right click and modify. It's your standard modify window for a report like we've always dealt with. We're going to rearrange the items on here. We're going to leave the budgeted and add actuals. The data fields we're pulling or adding actually already exist in our activities. The ones we add will already be here. The resource assignment, the data fields or cells we want to add, everything is already here. So here we go. We're going to do these one grouping at a time so that you don't lose track of them. The caption fields will remain the same. We'll just change the wording. So in this field, we need to add 2 rows. We're going to stack these. We're going to have actual, or we're going to have activity budgeted labor units, and we're going to have our data field, and then we're going to have actual labor units as a or actuals as a caption field, and then a data field for the actual. So we need to add a couple of rows. Let me see which one this is. I think it's this one, add row. I'm going to click that twice. I want to add 2 rows. We have our activity name, just the data field here, which pulls the actual name of the activity. So we're going to have to actually change a lot of our layout. Our calendar duration. As we move these things around, right-click, cut, right-click, paste, right-click, paste. I want my activity name to show up twice. So I know that when I have an activity name, I can look at the budgeted up here, budgeted, 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 activity name, actual, actual, actual. Since we're going to stack these, they pretty much can stay in the same place. We will change these label names. Right-click, copy, right-click in this row, paste. Right-click the data, or left-click to select. Right-click the data field, copy, paste. I'll change this one, and then I'm going to probably speed the video up so you don't have to watch each one. I may show you another one, but it's a repeated process that's the same. Properties. This data field, the cell object is the activity, the cell field is original duration. So what we want now is going to be actual duration. Not too terribly difficult, actual duration. I've changed this data field. We're already in the activities, so it will show up. We're going to change this to the caption to actual. Oh, yeah. Actual and actual. We can preview this report. My preview window shows on a different screen. Okay. So what we just added was our second activity's name, activity name. Remember, this was budgeted. This was actual. Now this is only for this activity. This one is for the office effort activity. There's our budgeted or planned duration and our actual duration to date. Planning, actual, or budgeted and actual. Okay. So we're going to do the same thing here where we take this caption, copy it, paste it, lower it. Take this budgeted data field, copy it, and paste it below. Then we'll change the caption, and we'll get a reflection of the actual to-date expenditures. We saw that our activity name was a little bit short. Right-click, properties. I'm going to show you some things about alignment, width, and left. 164. Let's make this 175. That would be 1.75 inches, and it's at 0.25 for left. So click my upper one, 0.25. As you can see, now that we've added the other actual labor cost and to-date total costs, I hesitate to call it just total. It gives the wrong idea that the actual activity is completed, and it costs, in this case, $1,950 instead of the planned $7,599. That would kind of make you wonder. In the time period since this schedule was put together and kicked off, the original baseline, engineer was added because it was something that was missed. In the notebook for this project schedule, an entry was made that states the addition of the engineer was missed on the original baseline and budget. In looking down through this, we can see that our planning portion is actually done. Our actual man hours, calendar duration, total cost here. It actually will give you a pretty good idea of There's our pickup cost, our budgeted expense cost. We'll add an actual cost column in expenses so we can see what the actual cost of this pickup was compared to the budgeted cost. So each of these sections is going to have actuals. These are all planned right now. All right. All right, let's close this as always with a report. No changes I've made have been saved. Down here, tell it OK. That saved the changes that I just made to the report that we're modifying. Right click, modify to open it back up. Now, all of the changes we've made, all of these columns, are part of our new report. If we had not hit OK and this crashes, we just hit cancel for whatever reason, nothing will remain. It will be the original report as we opened it. The lesson here is to save it often, and we do that by saying OK, closing it, and then reopening it, the report. We actually can go look at our report title, budgeted resources expense detail, and I know budgeted, and I might as well change this right now. Actual cost to date. Here. Control X. When you're adding or adjusting a title like this, I know that seemed odd that it jumped, but it will do that. As you type, you need to be up against actual letters. See, there's no spacing there. Put a space in there, and it won't like it. If I tried to type another word without having letters there, come on the end here, put a space, it jumps back to the beginning. Come to this end, start typing. Oh, nice. It did it. But then put a space in, and it doesn't work. Simply because there was no space here. So if I type another word that I want on the end, far, I can then use my arrow key back and put my space in, and it will stay. If you don't do it that way, it will jump back to the beginning, drive you batty. Now, that change has not been saved. Remember that. Okay, so real estate is going to get really, really expensive in here. We start adding actuals. So for this section, start, finish, my resources, man hours, budgeted labor. We're going to change our caption here. Since it's budgeted, it's not just man hours. We can put planned hours. Once again, it has to be a caption that makes sense for the audience. Right click, copy, same process. Right click and paste. Now, our field is overlaying the copied field. This will happen in all cases. It will paste it right back over the top of an existing field. Right click, properties. These are going to be actual hours. Copy and paste. As you can see, it overlaid, the data field overlaid our existing. Once again, we can make these perfectly line up by looking at our left and our width. Make our width 1. Things that are easy to remember. 8.8 and 1. 8.8 and 1. Make our caption and data fields the same. These are going to be actual hours. I didn't need to do that, but okay. budgeted labor units just needs to change to actual labor units. As you can see, you could change it to actual this period if you would like. Actual labor units. All right. We can go look at our change. Get used to looking at the changes a lot and used to saving your changes. If you don't like your changes, you can always close it. Don't save the changes and then reopen it if you've been planning ahead. Now we can see our planned hours, actual hours for our specific resources. We didn't really have to do a lot with this over here. And it kind of reads reasonably well. We might want to move our actual hours over here just to stack them. Once we get all of our data fields on there, kind of a good layout, then we'll go clean it up. All right, let's clean up the expenses. Our expense item, put it over here. Remember, we can check the left. Let me see, 0.85 on left, 1.3. I'm just changing the number so there's something easier to remember. If that changes, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to get wrapped around the axle about it staying there. So we'll just change it to 0.8. That was 0.8. As you can see, it changed it. What was that? 1.3. Copy and paste. Once again, data field covers. Copy, paste. Seven and 1.4. 7 and 1.4. We want actual costs instead of budgeted. Actual cost. Change this to actual cost. Okay. We're going to go look at how that worked out, and then we'll save it if we like our changes. And that was our expense. So let's find an expense: vehicle cost, equipment to be determined, budgeted expense, actual expense. At the end of the report here, we are going to add additional data fields in our totals line to reflect actual to date cost. All right, let's save this by clicking OK. I'll go back to it, right-click it, and modify to open it back up. So far, we've added our actuals. We stacked in our activities column. In our resources, we added actual hours. We didn't add any actual cost. We could do that. Our expenses, we've moved our data fields over and made room for actual cost. So down here in the summary line, we have a similar problem in that we're going to move these data fields to the left to make room for actual. I think in this instance we're going to stack. We'll use half of our sheet of paper for the budgeted to the left and actuals to the right. It is the very same process of copy, paste, and modify. Both caption fields the little C, and the data fields. In this case, we'll just look at one. They're summary fields. The activities summary is the object. The cell field being budgeted labor units will change to actual labor units, and we'll leave activities summary the same. That's the summary. We move it a little bit to fill those in. Now, I can print this across the printer to make sure that it will fit, but I can already tell you that with the printer I use, it will fit very well. Estimated totals are all here. I will now put an actual totals and the same data fields. We're going to copy and paste the individual fields. But I want to go save these changes first. Now that our changes have been saved, all right, now let's do our caption first. Once again, it just like above, it will put it right on top of the field that you copied. We're going to change it to actual totals. I'm going to move it to 6.28, and its width, I'm going to give it 0.865. Now, I'm going to copy all of my fields, copy and paste them first, and then modify them. So copy, paste. You could just paste, paste, paste the same field and change it. It's just a text field. I find it easier to keep track of it if we do it this way. You can do whatever works for you. They're just a text field. You can just reuse the same one if you wish. In keeping track of it, I do the individual fields because they have the original text in them. All right, 7.25, just 25, and 0.604 is good. You know, I'm going to take the duration off there, I think. I think we're just going to report back actual labor hours, labor cost, expense to date, and actual cost to date. So we can right-click and delete. Sure you want to delete this component? Yes. Delete. Yes. Properties. So that gives us our 4. We can make those fit a little better. Actual total is taking up 2 lines. I would like it to take up 1 line, so we need to make this field wider. Looks reasonably good. Let's go fix that. Actual total line. We can do it this way, or we can drag it. If you want, it's rougher, but you can actually drag that. We know we have a lot of real estate here. We're just trying to get it on a single line. Let's go preview it again. Make sure that we fixed it. There, on a single line. The text itself is kind of large. Looks a little odd. We either make these bigger or we'll make our fields text smaller. I think we'll do that. Properties, custom font. They're currently at 12. Let's make them 10. Let's do that to the estimated total too, so they're the same. 10, okay. Preview it one more time. It looks a bit better. If I went a little smaller, it would be okay, but I can live with that. Since we're referring to actual cost to date, we also need to include our data date on this report, which is actually in the report footer is where we're going to put that. But let's go ahead and save these changes. So we're going to go fix the add the data date to the actual report. In our page setup, let's reclaim a little space there. We might turn our margins down. We'll look at previewing it. So I'm going to click section 3 on the footer, modify. We're going to add us a variable, data date. Okay, yeah, it didn't work very well. Add variable, let's do that. Let's put it on the left-hand side. Let's put some text in front of it. That will just give you a data date, which means nothing if you don't know what it is. Current data date. And 1 space. Okay, there. We will now preview this report again and see that we have our data date on the bottom. We just added this text, current data date. So this is the schedule's current data date, which really only matters on the last page, but it's good to have it on all the pages. We can add the words report run date and time up here, which we probably should, since this is a report that's really busy, but it's given as the actual schedule progresses. Report run date. The other thing that I saw was that the margins look good. So let's modify this. report run date and time. Okay, let's preview it one last time here. And then we'll go save our changes. Report run date and time. Budgeted actual cost to date, what it is. Got my actuals on there. Obviously none of those have been spent yet, but a very quick summary to date. And there you have it. You go tell it OK to save this report. Now you can actually just run this report anytime you want. And you will get your actual and budgeted. It's a down and dirty quick report. Typically you wouldn't lay one out with this much information on it. It's very busy, hard on the eyes unless you know what you're looking at. There you go. Hope you've enjoyed this video.